now we are going to discuss about the titles of the posters, which has the biggest impact over your audience, because from a distance audience can just read the title of your poster. So to attract the audience towards your poster, the title has the biggest impact, and the poster title should be centered across the top part of the poster and should have the key takeaways from your study. So convey the meaning of the overall poster and each figure. So text should be in title case always, and no full stop at the end of the title are the basic requirements of the title of a poster, and should have been covered within the 2 lines and use the full width of the title bar. 3 lines in exceptional cases is acceptable for any extraordinarily long title. But two lines are the best, because that can accommodate the best fit in terms of font size and the clarity for the audience. Then comes the introduction to the background section, where we are providing the unmet need and the background, scientific background and rationale of your research. And if required, introduce the investigational drug if it is a new one. And to make it attractive, make it more attractive and towards the audience, figure for the mechanism of action may be included into your background section. Questions raised and answers provided by previous research would set the scene for the study. Again, reiterating the fact that we need to have the unmet needs specified in this section, so that will be answered through the questions raised and answered by the previous research is important. Remember that it is not a paper, so it should be very concise and should have short bullets and statements compared to statements in a manuscript. So 3 to 5 bullet points would be sufficient to set the stage for conducting this particular study. So that is very important. See, this is an example of writing where you have either used a graphical or an image form to depict the mechanism of action into a poster, or a tabular format where you are describing the binding affinity of different molecules with different receptors into the body. So these are two types where either a tabular format or a graphical or image format you can use to describe your background section. Then comes the method section, where you are including a short description of your study design, eligibility criteria for participants, setting and locations, outcome measures, how and when they were assessed, and statistical analysis with a greater detail. Present only the key information relevant to the data being presented with study design figure or table would be the best to illustrate adequate information effectively. So that is the best way, that you use a flowchart format or a tabular figure format to describe your study design. How you conducted your study, what are the different types of participant you included, how many participants you targeted to include, what are the settings or location you wanted to conduct your study in, and what are the key primary and secondary, what are the primary and the secondary outcomes that you assessed during your study, along with the details, basic details of the statistical analysis that you have conducted, which software you have used, what parameters you have used, what variables you have included while conducting your statistical analysis. So that is very important. So this is an example of study design where a flowchart method has been used to describe your study design. What was the inclusion criteria? It was a randomized control trial with 2 different arms. What was used, what was your drug was used in arm A, and what was the drug used in arm B. What was the study duration from day 0 to day 10, day 15, and then moving ahead in a similar way. What are the outcomes that has been assessed? So each stage, there are 3 different examples that has been described in the slide, where you can have an idea how to present your study design in a very interactive and manner. Now comes the results section, which is the largest section, which occupies about 50 to 60% of the total space of the posters that has been allocated to you. So describe the key results of the study, what you found. Key means the most pertinent data supporting the message or overall conclusion of your study, or what you want to tell to your audience in a most significant manner. So you would include only those key results. Again, this is not a manuscript. In manuscript you can describe lot many results, and but you don't have that much freedom to include that in posters, but still little more than what you can describe in abstract. So use tables, charts and figures when appropriate to describe your results rather than text. Again, tables, charts or figures can say 1,000 words more than what your text is saying. And moreover, it helps your audience to understand the results, to compare the results if it is a comparison study in a tabular or a chart format. So formatting and consistency in a result section is very important, because see, it is the biggest section and it is the most important section where your audience would be interested in reading. So each figure and table that you are using to depict your results should have a title describing what that table or figure is describing or summarizing. The illustrations should be simple, well labeled and clear legends should be there. The audience should not feel burden of trying to understand what is given in that figure or the table. So the legends should be very clear, able to stand independently from the text. The figure or the table should be self-explanatory and should be independent from the text. It should describe the message that will support your conclusion section. Ensure consistency between the illustrations for a number of participants, statistical value, legends, font and size, etc. See, if you have used 3 tables, then all the tables should have same font and should be of similar size, should be formed on the same base theme, the colors should be same. If you have used the decimal value of 2, decimal value till 2, then all the results should be described in 2 decimal values. If the number of participants used in table 1 is 360, then in table 2 should be 360, table 3 should be 360, and if there is any deviation, then in the notes section of the table or the figure it should be clear that why the number is differing. So the description of each table and figure should be complete in itself, and the audience should not feel any need of diving into the text or feeling hardship to understand the graph or the figure or the table. The graphics and the poster layout should have general rules that only to include graphics that really support the content, and every graphic should have a purpose. Just to include a graphic for the sake of showing or to having more graphics into the poster does not serve the purpose. For example, if you have to just show that out of 360 patients, 20 dropped out of the study, if you want to show this by pie chart, then it fails the purpose, because that doesn't serve any purpose of including the graphics. You can just write a single line and avoid the graphic space, because that doesn't have any meaning, any purpose of having a pie chart. Simple, clean graphics communicate relationships quickly. Graph within a graph makes it difficult to understand. So the graphics should be clean and simple so that audience can easily understand what you want to communicate. Diagrams, graphs or flowcharts help explain complex information visually. So if there are relationship data, then it becomes very easy if you can depict those through flowcharts, because if you use the text, then it becomes difficult to understand, to make the connection. But if the flowchart has been used, then it becomes very easy for the audience to understand what the message you are trying to communicate. Then pictures of graphics make poster visually appealing. right? Any text, any slide which is text heavy or any poster which is text heavy does not make the poster visually appealing. So it's better to use the post pictures and graphics wherever suitable to present your results. And then limited color palette should be used. It's not that one table you're using, you are having graph of red color, and then the next you are using the graph which is having green or orange color or yellow color or different multiple colors you are trying to use. So limited color palettes is very effective, and avoid too many different or strongly contrasting colors. Use high quality graphics is another rule where you can attract more audience towards your posters. Very colorful posters, very bright colors, strongly contrasting colors, they irritate the eye and doesn't actually attract your audience towards the poster, because then it will create a mindset that you have used more mind while using the colors rather than depicting your results in a better way. Then comes the conclusion section, where what it all means you have to specify. What all those results that you have mentioned using the 60% space of the poster, what all it all means is what you are describing in your conclusion section. That is the main conclusion with implications and applications of your research findings. Again, be it simple, make it very simple and clear cut to the point, where one may go from here. That is, what are the directions you are giving to your audience to conduct this study in future? What questions remain unanswered, because no study is 100% complete in itself, and there are always some questions which remain unanswered after every research. So you have to tell your audience or your readers that what are the questions which are still remain unanswered after your study that other researchers can work on. If you were to do the study again, how would you change it? That is again a similar point which is connected to the above point, where you are telling that, see, I conducted this study in such and such way, but if I could do the study again, then I would change this point, so that it can give an direction for a future research. Then comes the references and the acknowledgement section of the poster, where you are referring all those background section that you have used to find the unmet need of your study. So there is only one section which needs references, that is the introduction or the background section of your poster, which include the references having numbered according to where they appear in the body text, and should be limited to 5 with font size smaller than the poster text, because this is not the text that you want to focus or you want your audience to spend a lot of time. So the font size is generally kept smaller than the poster text, and good to check the conference instruction, what they are saying, what is the style of references they are using, so that you can align your references on the poster according to the conference instructions or the poster instructions they have provided for you. Who do you acknowledge? Now comes the acknowledgement section of the poster. Now everybody has this question that whom I want to acknowledge. So include everyone who contributed to the work directly or indirectly but did not meet the authorship criteria is one thing. For example, a scientific writer who has not contributed towards the conduct of the study but has contributed a lot while writing the study results or developing the poster. He or she she should be acknowledged into the acknowledgement section of the poster. Research group or the funding source, that is again very important, that if you are involved in any research group or you have conducted this study through a funding source, members from another group that gave you any advice, any help, any lab facilities that they have provided, then you should acknowledge their contribution while conducting your study, because without them probably the study would not have completed. So some conferences may ask to disclose any conflict of interest if you have or any of the authors have. So you should mention that into the acknowledgement section of your poster. So posters we have completed now. Now we'll move to another part, which is how we develop effective oral presentation. Some of the conferences, they have two modes of data presentation. One is the poster format and another is the oral presentation, where you prepare few slides and present your data directly to a wider audience sitting in the conference room. So we'll discuss a brief about these oral presentation, which follow some basic rules. Rule 1 is very simple. 1 minute equals to 1 slide, excluding title or acknowledgement slides. That is, whatever time has been allocated to you for your data presentation or oral presentation into a conference, you should divide that particular time into the number of slides by following a simple rule or formula: 1 minute equals to 1 slide. So if you have just 10 minutes for data presentation and 5 minutes for discussion, then you should restrict yourself towards preparing only 10 slides, excluding any title or excluding the title and the acknowledgement slide. Moving further, the subtitles we have similar to what we have just seen in the poster subheadings. Order may vary according to the study or time of presentation, but we have the subheadings. Check the Congress guidelines before starting the preparation. See, lots of congresses provide their background, slide background themes, colors, color palettes that you have used, format of graphs, format of tables that you can use while developing your oral presentations. Also, the format of the references that you can use while developing your presentations. So, it's always better to check the Congress or the conference guidelines before starting your preparation. So, this rule, the last rule, applies to every writing document that you are creating. It applies while abstract writing, that you should check the Congress guidelines before starting writing the abstract. The same rule applies to the poster presentation, where you need to check the Congress or the conference guidelines before actually starting your poster development. And the same case applies to the oral presentations. You have to check the conference or the conference guidelines before deep diving into starting your oral presentation. So how much should I keep? So the template, again, check the conference guidelines. For example, ESMO, it's a European conference that provides you the background template. You need to adhere to that particular template and present all your results into that template. Confirm if presentation time includes the discussion time. Sometimes conference just say that you will be given 15 minutes. Then you should check with the conference presentation whether those 15 minutes include a time of discussion, or discussion time would be beyond those 15 minutes and you will get 15 minutes to present your own results. So that is very important. So most of the conference generally specify that if they write 15 minutes, then it generally says 10 minutes for your presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. But if not specified, it should be checked. This is an example. So typical conference guide for an oral presentation, where they have specified their guidelines for oral presentation, where they say that 1 slide 1 minute rule again, and also the template they provide. So the schema of a presentation, oral presentation, generally follows these points, where we have the first slide as a title slide, following slides has conflict of interest or any disclosure the author or the presenter has to make. These slides are excluded from the time that is given for the presentation, and then goes for the introduction slide, which generally longs for just 1 slide. Then the method slides, which generally go for 1 to 2 slides, which may have a study design figure to present your results in a better manner and attract your audience and understand and let the audience understand your methodology in a better way. Then goes the results slides, which again goes for 5 to 6 slides, and 1 slide generally is the result section is generally subdivided into these particular subsections, where the first section is the baseline demographics, Then second would be the patient disposition, third would be the efficacy, which may last from third to fourth slide, and the fifth may be the safety slide, and sixth would be the summary slide or the conclusion slide. Then the last may be the acknowledgement slide. So this is how we develop an oral presentation with different subsections. So again, there are some simple rules that needs to be kept into mind before creating the slides or the bullets for the oral presentation. So always use the bullets and avoid the complete detailed statements. You get the time to talk on those bullet points. So use only bullets and talk on the statements yourself. Animation and transition distract the focus, so the animations should be minimum. Use figures, tables and illustrations which have the high quality graphics to describe your results section and the methodology section if possible. And the structure of the presentation should build a story as the presentation progress, which again follow the IMRAD format, where introduction, methods, results and discussion section, results, analysis and discussion section goes. So there should be a story with that. May consider backup slide not more than 2. If you get the time or chance to discuss anything further, you can present those slides. Further, when you are presenting your results through an oral presentation, again keep in mind the same thing that we discussed in the poster development or the abstract, that it should be well balanced. It should not be that only the positive results you are depicting and forgetting about the negative results. You should present both the positive as well as the negative results out of your research. You should describe about the study limitations or any shortfalls into your study. So these are the main points that you need to take care while describing your poster, oral and abstract. All these points or the rule books are majorly similar. The one thing that differs in abstract is you write the complete statements, while in posters and oral presentations you use the bullet points. In abstract you get less chance to use the graphics because some conferences or some manuscripts allow you to use the graphs or the tables, but the number is again very limited, whereas in posters and orals you can use more number of graphs and tables or illustrations to better depict your results. But keep in mind that all the figures, the tables, the illustrations that you have used should have been in high quality graphics. Again, the sequence in all these three types of presentations should be very correct and should follow a story. It should not be that the audience, whether reading the abstract section or the poster or the oral presentation, should have to find that where your results might be. So it should follow a proper sequence, forming a story where you are first depicting that there is an unmet need in the current literature that has already been done. Now you are conducting this particular study to fill this gap. Moving further, to conduct this particular kind of study, you are following this kind of methodology. Describe the details of the methodology so that anybody else can replicate your study to get the similar results. Moving further, what you have conducted through your methodology, you present your results section where you are describing that what I have got, and what I have got would tell you what your study concludes. And after the conclusion, because no study is 100% complete, you would describe or you will tell your audience, see, these are my limitations, so you can take this study further in such and such manner. Thank you.